think so because I mean, I get everything else. And we actually came to that last month was the same thing. That was just was it the POA? And the package. Right. That's the only thing, but everything else I did.
So I can evacuate on Monday. I tell you about it? Sure, it was my go-kart. Yeah, drove down on Tuesday, like Tuesday morning, 2:30 in the morning, straight through. I was there 3 days. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for call to order the Aldermen meeting for September 10th. Pledge of allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll, please.
Alderman King.
Here.
Alderman Stokes. Alderman Tripp.
Here.
Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman
Here.
Cassetti.
Here.
Alderman Philippone. Alderman Dempsey.
Here.
Alderman Kaslitis.
Here.
Alderman Yauman.
Here.
Alderman Rivers.
Here.
Alderman O'Brien. Alderman Stewart.
Here.
Alderman Blackwell. Alderman DeLuber. 9 present, 5 absent.
I declare a quorum. I'd like to apologize. I'd like to ask everyone to rise for a moment of silence for all the 9/11 victims. Okay, thank you. Consideration of previous minutes. Is there a motion to approve our previous minutes? Mr. Yauman and Mr. Stewart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carried. One abstention. Public session. Would anyone from the public wish to speak? Would anyone from the public wish to speak? Third and final call. Would anyone from the public wish to speak? Please come forward. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I'll make it brief. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight, all right? I'm doing great. Just have a few questions. Well, probably not going to answer them, but I got this stuff that's on my mind that maybe we get some answers, maybe we won't. I'm sorry, name, right? I'm sorry. Harry Danley Jr., 52 North Cliff Street, Ansonia. Hey, Mayor's in a good mood. How are you, Mayor?
Good, how are you?
Good, good, good. Question I have is, how are we making out with the new police department? Is that going forward? Everything's good with that? Anybody can answer on that one?
It's on the agenda for this evening.
Oh, it is, that's good. Okay, now I was here a couple months back, back in June, and I didn't get an answer back then. I'm just maybe 2 months later, maybe we have an answer. Mayor Cassetti's been the mayor for approximately 6 years, and I had asked about the general fund, what we started with when he became mayor and where it's at now with the balance. Do we have any answers for that?
This isn't a question and answer period, Mr. Danley. We've been through
But
it
this
before.
is something that you guys should have the answer, and it's open to the public, and it should be known, and it should be, what is the secret? You know, I was told, oh, come to my office, come to my office. For what? It should be said. There's nothing wrong with either you tell me here in front of everybody. Why do we got to go behind closed doors to get answers? That's a question I want to know.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, the city hired a landscaping company, and I actually witnessed it myself, and it kind of bothered me, to weed whack the sidewalks. Matter of fact, I was coming home from work after 3 o'clock, and they were on my street. Horrible job. Weed whacked, blew everything into the street, and just left it. And not even took the time to call Public Works, maybe they could sweep it for them. I mean, that was pretty bad if you ask me. And once again, talked to the mayor a few months back, still continues to hire outside contractors, costs more money than letting Public Works come in, with overtime. Mayor Cassetti, another thing is we talked about a few months back that I want to bring to your attention again, catch basins, hire an outside contractor, paying $250 to $300 an hour to an outside contractor to put catch basins in. When it'd be less expensive to hire the Public Works Department to take care of it. And, you sit there or should I say your signs, or read your signs, putting taxpayers first, hiring outside contractors costs more money than having Public Works take care of it. So in my eyes, that's not putting taxpayers first, Mayor Cassetti. All right? And then another thing that's bothered me, Public Works, understaffed. Okay? You've taken money, approximately $400,000 they've given back at least this past year, maybe even 2 years in a row. I don't know, it's just not fair. I don't think it's fair to the Public Works. Guys are working hard, taking money, not hiring guys. You drive around the city, what you do, I drive around, and honestly, you really think that the city looks really good, Mayor Cassetti, compared to other cities in the area? You cutting back money from Public Works just makes things worse for everybody. And it's an embarrassment, to be honest with you. And I lived here my whole life. So you might be doing good in a lot of other areas, but with this, I feel you're not doing good. And another thing I brought up a couple months ago that bothers me, okay?
So your 3 minutes is up.
Okay, well, Irene, may I take her 3 minutes? Okay.
Thank
So
you.
she's willing to give me her 3 minutes. Is that okay?
No, it's not okay. She could speak.
Okay. Well, I just have 2 more things left.
Well, how about the 3-minute rule, okay? You had your time.
All right, can I just have one more thing to say that's bothering me, and now I'll leave?
Why
Just
not?
one more
Go
thing.
ahead.
The clubhouse, Mayor Cassetti, please can you answer this for me? I asked you 2 months ago, and I asked you, as the mayor, go on the sidelines every season for these football players, and you cheer them on, but then you deprive them on the clubhouse where 4 years ago, in the referendum, we were supposed to put new showers, the city was supposed to install new showers for the football players. Hasn't been done yet. Can you tell me why?
It hasn't gone out to bid yet.
Why wait 4 years, though?
Mayor Cassetti,
What?
I'm going to, all due respect, this is not a question and
Yeah, but-
answer
but-
period. Harry,
But
your-
I know we get
your
no
3
answers.
minutes
I
is
know.
up.
Come see me afterwards. We'll go behind closed door and we'll get the answers, right?
That's the process.
That's the
Yes.
process. But it's not fair to the public, okay?
Thank you for your consideration, Harry.
Yeah, but we still don't have an answer. 4 years to take for showers to go out to bid? That's 4 years it takes? Wow. Well, I was told we still have the money put aside, so I was just wondering, it doesn't take 4 years.
Harry,
To
your
put showers
time
in.
is up.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to what I have to say. Mayor Cassetti, good luck in November.
Would anyone else from the public wish to speak tonight? Would anyone else from the public wish to speak? Ma'am, please come forward. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to say thank you. First of all, to Mayor Cassetti my name is actually Irene Scheld. I live on Byron, number 7 Byron Avenue in Ansonia. And we had a problem on our street for many, many years. And I came here, it's almost probably a year or so ago, and I spoke before the board. And everyone really came to our help. Everyone on our street was very concerned about the narrowness of the road leading out onto North Main Street. And one day I saw the construction workers up there, and we were very, very happy, and we're very pleased with the outcome. And I just wanted to come tonight to say thank you to everyone who helped us in any way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were here with Mr. Bill Good, is that right?
I'm sorry?
Bill Good was here.
Bill Good and I worked together on it,
I
yes.
remember that, yeah.
But it was a combination, I guess, of just everybody. So we all want to say thank you. It's made a big difference in our neighborhood. Thanks again.
Thank you. Would anyone else from the public wish to speak? Ed, please come forward. Name and address for the record, please.
Edward Mazzanti, 21 Castle Lane. I brought this issue up last time. There was an accident up on Maple Street Bridge. So what about getting signs up there, not having tractor trailers go on that bridge? Because there was an accident last month. He came around a corner, hit the old building of Farrell's. The bridge is not wide enough either. Have the state come in and buy that building. It's up for sale or lease, or else not let trucks go on that bridge. Then another thing, I was in Stop and Shop today. Poor lady was in front of me, and she had to let go of some of her stuff. So I gave her some money for her bags, because she had to pay for her bags, because they're Democrats, so we had to pay 10 cents now for our bags. But another question, how come up near General Muffler is on one side of the road is 30, the other side is 25? up there at General Muffler. One way is 25, the other way is 35. It's on the same road. Going one way, it's 25. Going the other way, why is that?
State of Connecticut set those speed limits.
But on one side of the road is 25, the other side is 30.
State of Connecticut set those speed limits. Those have been there the 27 and a half years I've been there. That speed limit's been that way. 25 one way, 30 the other.
Because near General Muffler, there's no sign stating on that side, but near the other side there is.
Yes, 25 going one way, 30
But what I'm saying is, on the other side, there is no speed limit on the other side, closer to General Muffler.
There's a speed limit down by Broadway.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else from the public wish to speak? Would anyone else from the public wish to speak? Third and final call. Would anyone else from the public wish to speak? Hearing none, seeing none, public session is closed. Public official session. Mayor Cassetti, please.
Good evening, President Vaccaro, members of the Board of Aldermen, and residents of the great city of Ansonia. I know we are commemorating the September 11th tragic events that occurred, but I want to bring you up to date as September is National Child Cancer Awareness Month. It is a time to recognize the children and families affected by childhood cancers and to support the research into cures for those terrible conditions. I urge you all to consider donating to organizations like St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital this month. And please join me by wearing a yellow ribbon sticker we have made available to support the cause. Everybody has one on their table. Next, I would like to recognize Frankie Ramos Jr., who I believe is in attendance tonight. Is that true? Let me explain. One of the most amazing things about Ansonia is the unity of our community and how, when called upon, our community will always rise to help someone in need. There is no better example of this than what Frankie set in motion for the man many of you know as Mr. Charlie. We have all seen Mr. Charlie, who is an incredible and humble man. He can be seen keeping our city clean and beautiful. There was never a storm drain Mr. Charlie encountered that wasn't cleared of the debris after he was done with it. He does this all out of the kindness of his own heart. Unfortunately, Mr. Charlie's lawnmower broke down a few weeks ago. This is when Frankie stepped in. Frankie, with his employer, the Connecticut Discount Muffler and Brakes, spearheaded a GoFundMe page campaign, which raised $2,250 in only a few short days. Frankie was available to have this community rise up together and fund Mr. Charlie's new tractor. It was Gandhi who first said that we must be in the charge we wish to see in the world. Frankie, there is no finer example of someone who lives by those words than seeing what you set in motion for Mr. Charlie. You brought the community together to help Mr. Charlie, and we are forever thankful for your efforts. We also invited Mr. Charlie to this event, but it was going to be a little bit too much for him. We do have a key to the city for Mr. Charlie, and I ask that you pass it on to him as a sign of the city's appreciation. Come on up, Frankie, for all he does. Mr. Charlie is the perfect example of someone who wants to make Ansonia a better place. That is, of course, the reason we are all gathered here on the second Tuesday of every month to move a city forward. Well, tonight is full of opportunities to help our city charge forward like never before. First, This board has before it a recommendation from the Police Building Committee to proceed with the execution of the contract for the construction of the new Ansonia Police Station. The project will bring center a safety of security into the heart of our downtown Ansonia, while also providing valuable community space. It's been a long time in the planning, and I am very excited to see us reach this milestone tonight. Next, you have before you the results of a request for proposal for a recreational development on Olson Drive. I am excited to announce that a proposal was submitted by Primrose Development for the construction of a $14 million multi-facility sports complex that would span the entire property. This proposal has the potential to serve as a triple play: a win for taxpayers, downtown development, and our recreation program. And of course, this opportunity would not be possible with the hard work of the Ansonia Housing Authority and HUD, who have helped to forge a path forward for the redevelopment and reuse of Olson Drive. A huge thank you to Director Steve Nakano and Chairman Joe Pinto on their fantastic efforts, along with Jennifer Gottlieb and Susan P. Insante from HUD. But that's not it. Tonight you will be discussing in executive session a proposal to turn adversity into opportunity for the city of Ansonia. The proposal from Shaw Growth Ventures that opens the possibility not only for the redevelopment of the ATP and Palmer building, but also the long vacant Farrell Process Laboratory. And finally, let me mention the project already in motion, the installation of the sidewalks on Pulaski Highway and Prindle Avenue. Work commenced Monday morning and will continue next week with the installation of the drainage. Their new sidewalks will provide safe pedestrian passage for our high school students and a walkway for residents. You know, it wasn't long ago that they said sidewalks on Pulaski Highway were impossible. And many might say the same about the police station downtown or a sports complex on Olson Drive. But this Board of Aldermen seems to have a knack for accomplishing the impossible. And I know you will never let the city down. Thank you, and God bless you all, and God bless the city of Ansonia.
I'd like to ask this board to add under executive session a motion regarding the potential purchase of the Olson Drive property.
So moved.
Mr. Cassetti, is there a second? Mr. Rivers, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Marini, Corporation Counsel.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mayor mentioned the results of the RFP that you have before you. Sheila's going to talk a little more about that proposal and the steps to take it up under negotiation with the submitter. But just as important to pave a path forward for any development at Olson Drive is, of course, the discussion of the disposition of the property, the potential purchase of the property or transfer of the property from the Housing Authority to the city. And so thank you, Mr. President, for adding that to the agenda tonight under executive session for this board to take up. Moving on with the hiring process of our new Ansonia Police Chief, I'd like to thank Paul Heon and his commission for all their diligent efforts to move through this process. The light is almost there at the end of the tunnel, and within the next several weeks, the process will be moving into final interviews and a conclusion. So, of course, thanks to Paul Heon, his board, to Mike Metzler, and all those who have been involved in moving forward with the process. Also, a very big thank you to our finance department and Director Kim DeStefano, and also Superintendent Joe DeBacco and Board of Ed Finance Director Lisa Jones for moving the process forward with our agreement to pursue a joint platform for financials between the City of Ansonia and the Board of Education. They've been very busy soliciting vendors, doing demos, going through the submissions, and it looks like within several months there could be a consensus on that. So thank all of you for your hard work on that. Finally, the ATP Palmer project is now possibly evolving into something bigger. We discussed last month in our executive session at a potential for a proposal, and I'm really excited to have that proposal on for you tonight under executive session. Other than that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Corporation Counsel? Thank you, John. Sheila O'Malley, Director of Economic Development.
Thank you, President Vaccaro, members of the Board of Aldermen. As John mentioned, we did put out an RFP. Bids were due back on the 9th for Olson Drive for the redevelopment of Olson Drive. And you have packets containing the development proposal we received from Primrose, John Geddes and Primrose Company for that development. And we're going to take a look at that, read through it thoroughly and understand it completely. And hopefully it looks to be an exciting proposal. It's going to fill a need that we have in the community for additional sports facilities and space. And it's also going to provide a recreational activity for our residents and the children who live in this city. So I ask that you look at that proposal and consider moving forward, allowing us to move forward and negotiate and speak with the developer if that proves to be the right project, which I do believe it does. I've spoken to numerous developers about hotels, about sports complexes. This kind of mixes the best of both worlds. We hear from a lot of our sports leagues that they lack space, they lack facilities in which to play, and so this piece of land is a good prime central location for sports activities. So I'll ask you to take a serious look at that proposal. Appears to be a good one. Just wanted to mention that Rob Cinto is here with us tonight. Rob was going to speak in public session, but since that opportunity has passed, I just want to add on to old business the Fountain Lake Farrell Pomini proposal that we had spoken about at the last meeting. Want to revisit the length of time that Farrell is asking for our tax incentive. I don't know if we can allow Rob to speak, but he has wanted to.
I'd like to ask for a motion to reopen public session to have Mr. Cinto speak. Is there a motion? Mr. Cassetti, second by Mr. Rivers. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Mr. Cinto, thank you.
Thank you. Board of Aldermen, thank you so much for having me here tonight. I wasn't able to make the last meeting where Farrell presented, and I believe the outcome was a 3-year tax abatement with a possible option to extend it. The issue that they have is that they're owned by a German company that won't take that uncertainty. And so the German companies came back and said that, they would look much more favorable on approving the purchase of the property at a 7-year term. So I'm coming here tonight to see if there's a way that we could possibly bridge the gap somehow between all three of us. We have another, we think that Farrell's been very good to us. We think they've been good to the city, and the city's been very good to us as well. So I'm just here tonight to see if we could creatively think of a way that we can get, Farrell what they're looking for in order to purchase the property. They do plan on building a building on the property, a warehouse building, before the 7-year period. So the abatement that you'd be giving them during that time period would really be irrelevant. But it's just the uncertainty of that happening or not happening within 7 years. They're not willing to sign off on. So.
Mr. President, just to refresh the board's recollection, I actually believe that the board voted on, I think, a 7-year incentive, if I'm correct. The issue was, I believe, the stipulation that construction had to begin within a certain period of time. And I think the board went back and forth between it being within 3 years or within 5 years, and that was the 3 years decided on. So I think that the disagreement wasn't necessarily the length of the incentive, but how quickly the development would actually have to occur to keep it going for the 7 years.
Understood completely. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. And for all due, the Ansonia Pharaoh wants to build this building within 3 years. The problem that they're having, my understanding at least, is that the uncertainty from the Germans saying that they don't know if they can commit definitely to starting it within a 3-year period. Whereas if we go to 7 years, by all intents and purposes, something will happen before 7 years. They're leasing a warehouse in another location where that lease rolls in, I believe, 2 years. So they don't want to lease anymore, and they own this property. So it just makes sense to them.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that into consideration tonight.
Okay,
Thank you.
Just one more thing. Yeah, we're open to whatever you guys can think of, and we're willing to work with anybody here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes,
I have a
Mr.
question for Sheila O'Malley,
Yes.
if I may. The mayor in his speech mentioned Ms. Gottlieb. I would just like to know who communicated with her.
We met with Ms. Gottlieb's Steve Mikado Monday morning, actually.
Monday morning this week.
That's right.
What was his name, Mikado?
Steve Mikado, who's the director of the Ansonia Housing.
Okay, thank you.
And Suzanne Piacentini from HUD.
And obviously, it probably was worth a little mentioning as well, background on that. Clearly, this is a main concern for Ansonia, and going back some time, we've all recognized that Olson Drive was owned by the Housing Authority, but at the same time under a deed restriction by HUD. And that deed restriction says residential only. And so after the demolition of Olson Drive, there was really there was an obligation to do replacement housing. That was actually the agreement that allowed Olson Drive to be demolition, to allow the Del Volpe administration to get the green light to do that project. And ever since then, the history is complicated to repeat, but essentially there's always been a back and forth between the Housing Authority, HUD, and city plans as to what would happen there, what would be the extent of the replacements. There was, of course, the revelation that the area was truly in a floodplain, which meant the return of residential units on the ground level would actually be very costly. And through negotiations, really over the last 5-6 years, a number of units that needed to be replaced was dwindled down from a 1-to-1 replacement to 50 units to now under 50 units. And finally, the Housing Authority, under the leadership of Steve Mikado and Chairman Pinto, have been able to not only reduce the density, but also shift the replacement off-site, and have been able to bring us into a position where HUD is willing to consider releasing the deed restriction on the condition, of course, of the sale of the property. And so we have an RFP for consideration on one track to think about what a potential purpose for that site could be. And on another track, as we'll talk later today, that there does need to be talk about what needs to happen to transfer the property, disposition. And the Housing Authority and the city behind all of this are going to be working on an application to HUD with all the pieces of the puzzle together that would open up the possibility of that Olson Drive transferring hands to the city and being opened up for redevelopment. And of course, that's a giant step forward for our community. And thanks to everyone on this board over the course of the last 5 to 6 years, to the Housing Authority, to HUD, to work together to really move us on to the next stage. But obviously, it's a complicated situation, so I think it always warrants explanation whenever we get the chance to where we are now or where we came from.
I know there was a lot of work, a lot of discussion involved in this entire process, and I thank you guys for all that. And moving forward, this is a capital idea for the city of Ansonia and the residents. Thanks, John, Sheila, Mayor. Okay. Were you done, Sheila, with your?
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
No Greg Martin tonight. He's not feeling too well, but Kim DeStefano is here.
Good evening, everyone. As John mentioned, we went to the Board of Ed yesterday. We've all been looking at software. Right now, we're kind of looking at our counterparts at Board of Eds and the cities to see what they use and how they like it, as well as talking to some of the cities who have actually begun the process of changing their software to see how that is going. So that's working out well. It's just taking time. We want to do our due diligence. Financial software usually keeps for quite a while, so we want to make sure we make the right choice. We're also working with the auditor to try to get the audit up and moving starting to send him some files and that type of thing. We still got a lot of analysis and that type of thing to do, as well as to keep up on the current year items. All of our daily activities take quite a bit of time, just paying payroll and paying with vendors and that type of thing. So it's busy as always in finance, but I think things are going well. That's good. Anyone have any questions?
Thanks, Kim. Chief Coda.
Good evening. Make it short. School began about a week and a half ago for us. Everything went well. We've had to shift a couple of crossing guards around. One of them didn't come back, so we have a fill-in right now. We're working on filling it permanently. But we've been able to start school with no issues. Bus routes seem to be running properly and such, so we're good there. We will be making some minor adjustments to the Prendergast parking. Initially, we've gone back a few months and we've had some approval to reduce parking directly in front of the school with the help of, I don't know if you hear Bob Evans. They were able to pave a driveway around the back of the tennis courts through the lot. You'll see if you go up there, it's brand new asphalt. So we're going to be changing the parking pattern to get, hopefully, every one of those cars off the street that are dropping off kids or picking up. We've got a plan there. You'll see some new signs going up. We anticipate that will resolve the problem permanently as opposed to a temporary fix. So we're high hopes for that to work. We've also been addressing some youth and motor vehicle issues over on the west side. We're getting frequent calls about noise, kids running around, a lot of noise, cars are loud, mufflers, and such. So we're addressing those. And most importantly, tonight you have before you, at this moment for us as a police department, a proposal for our new police department, our new facility at 65 Main Street. We're excited about the prospect of moving there. We're asking for your careful consideration for that, to approve that, between myself and the board, Mr. Heon and Chief Metzler. They've put a lot of time into it, as well as the whole board. We've looked through these plans numerous times, and we've come to what we believe is not only a state-of-the-art building, but what's required for us to continue our police services in a professional fashion. We have always kept an eye toward cost-cutting measures. There's nothing extravagant in there, but it's what we need to continue our services. It will give us parking for once. We'll have some parking that's underneath for our officers as well as our police cars. Everybody knows how hard it is to get into 2 Elm Street to park. So we're looking for your consideration. We're excited about this, and my understanding is you'll get some information, and it sounds like the companies are ready to come on board quite quickly if this is approved by the board tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Mr. Rivers?
Chief,
Yes.
I've been getting complaints about that house on Nichols. It is getting worse. They've been calling and they've been doing the report app, that app.
Yep. I can tell you it's being worked on. We're addressing people. We've identified some people, what's going on there.
Okay.
It takes time. I'd like to tell you everything that's going on, but it takes a lot of time, a long time.
I know.
With course, but we will continue to address it, and we have been.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Chief, thank you for all that you do. I mean, I got a lot of complaints about there had to be 20 kids Saturday night. It was very loud, and they were all from Express Mart down, just walking down. So I appreciate it.
We made all our patrols, especially evenings, aware that there's been an issue, large group of kids.
It's mostly Friday and Saturday nights after 11.
Yeah.
It's just generally when it is.
We'll continue to monitor it and address it as needed.
Thanks, Chief. Mr. D'Alessio, Public Works.
Good evening, everyone. I'll keep myself brief. This Thursday, we have the Army Corps Engineers inspection for our flood control, floodgates. They're coming for our yearly inspection. Guys been working on it for the last 2 months, getting everything up and ready to go, so it looks good. Hopefully, the inspection will go great Thursday morning. Guys are picking up bulk garbage throughout the city. Roadside cutting still going on, potholes. Just finished up the crosswalks for the school kids. That's all done for the season. Football started, so we're doing the fields again. We put our bleachers in around Nolan Field for football. We got soccer still going, so we're keeping busy with the field still. We got our mattress container coming tomorrow, so we're going to have a place to put our mattresses free of charge, no more disposing of them, paying for them to get rid of them. Something that mattress company's giving us, so we're gonna be disposing of probably 50 to 60 a week of mattresses that we bring in. That'll save us probably 2 or 3 $40 a week. That comes out to about $1,500 in disposal cost. So that'll be a big savings for the taxpayers. And I'm working on some paint care products to come in so the residents will have a place to bring their latex paints back down to Public Works instead of running around trying to get rid of it at the paint stores. We'll have a container at Public Works soon. Guys have been out fixing, we've tried to start on the signs this week. We're getting a few signs a week done. It's gonna take some time, but, we're a little short-handed, but we'll get the street signs done for the chief, and we got about 6 done today. And that's about it. Everything's just status quo. Getting the plows ready, believe it or not. Gotta get the plows down, get painted, getting ready for the snowy season. That's about it.
Questions for Mr. DeLassio?
Yes,
Chicago?
sir. That sign. I know that sign. That's the sign I told him to fix first, and he forgot all about it. He was on Wakely Avenue today. I'll try to get him there tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Mike, I've got a couple of complaints about Woodlawn Avenue from the residents. There's a part of the road, I don't know if you're familiar, there's that sewer collapse, and whoever worked on it, they came up, they patched, they filled it in. It's a sizable area, about the size of
And it's sinking.
the interior of this desk. It's actually sunk.
Yeah.
It's dropped.
That's
It's about 6 inches below the road. So when people drive over it, you're either gonna land in it or skip over it.
Yeah. The water
the other-
companies,
Yeah, the water company was the one, I saw them there last year. 'Cause
they were the last ones there.
water
They're aware of it.
from
It's supposed to be their final patch.
They never final patched it.
Yeah.
It's below the road surface. If
Yeah, but
somebody
they-
hits it, we're gonna be getting complaints.
Yeah, they weren't aware of it. What happened was our sewer collapsed, and the water broke a
wash
pipe.
out.
They came and repaired their water line, and they did the final paving.
Poor job.
So now we have to go out and saw cut it and redo it, so I think they forgot about it, but they're aware of it. Hopefully they'll be there within the next
And
few
the other
weeks.
thing I keep hearing about also on Woodlawn was between where Smith turns into Woodlawn.
Yeah.
That corner. Literally, that road, there are no sidewalks. We have elderly and disabled people. No sidewalks anywhere on Woodlawn.
Yeah, it's never been the sidewalks
If you go
there.
down around that turn, the way the trees are overgrown, it blocks out the one street light. There is one street light for 200 yards in either direction.
Yeah.
It makes it pitch black. People are using phones, using lighters, they're walking down the street. There's no sidewalk, they're coming around the turn. And this has been going on since, I'm gonna say almost 2 years with the growth. And people have been asking me about it. Now they're complaining.
Yeah, that's the housing authority
The way
property.
cars park, you're out in the road. Somebody comes around that's blind, you cannot see.
No, it
you can't
is.
see your hand
It
in
grows
front of
out
your
there.
face.
I'm gonna contact Tony from the housing authority.
Thank you.
That's his property.
Because
there.
it is their property that
It
the
is.
trees are growing off of.
Maybe
I
I
love
can,
it.
maybe I can send the roadside through. Maybe they can take something down. I'll just make them aware of
We
it.
need to, trim that
Trim
out.
it out.
Or add
Yeah.
more light in, because there, I hope not, but, I mean, it's.
No, if we
set up
trim it
for-
back, it should be
for
fine, because the
that.
light's across the street, it should hit it.
Because they're only on one side.
Right.
There's one light in front of 63 Woodlawn, and then there's that one at the end of Smith Street.
Yeah, left side going up.
The light goes all the way down at North State Street.
Yeah, I'll get I'll get our machine there, cut it, and I'll talk to Tony from the
Yeah, we
housing
can
authority.
Trim that, thank you.
You got it. Yeah. Yes, Joe?
Has, Mike, has anybody ever mentioned anything about installing basketball hoops up at Pine Lawn?
Yeah, we had them there, and I guess when the Boys and Girls Club moved in there, back in the day, I guess for them to get their CO, they needed more parking, and that was considered their parking. That's how they got their CO to move into that location, so they needed more parking. That's why them basketball courts came down when they did. You know, to install them now, after the fact, it's like they would lose their parking. I guess they all parked there. Plus they got the daycare in there. The fire museum parks across the street, so I guess when all that went in there, to get their CO, they had to take the basketball courts down and make that parking.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. DeLassio? Mr. Rivers?
Yes, I forgot, Mary Street and Wakely.
Yeah,
You got that?
that's same thing. That's going to be replaced. They're going to be cut out. That's after that sewer backup we had.
Right,
Yeah, that's going to probably be on us because we paid for the repair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
I want to remind the Aldermen, I text Mike during the month, so he gets things done like right away. If you guys want to have, burning issues, don't wait 3 weeks to address it with him. Just just send them a text or an email or a phone call.
Oh, he-
I know you don't.
You
all
know,
the time.
I know.
I see them all, I see them weekly.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Dr. DeBacco, Superintendent of Schools, would you like to report anything to the Board of Aldermen tonight?
All I can say is we had a great start to the school year. I'm encouraged by our teachers and our administrators. It's been, it just has been just a seamless beginning of the school year. Chief Code can tell you that driveway, unbelievably helpful. We can now queue up 75 cars and take them off the streets right there, right at where our Prendergast is. I think that's unbelievably helpful. Working with both with Bashar, Kim, and Serene, working on our financial software. Everything's, I want to knock on something, but it's been going quite well. The buses are moving, the crosswalks are there, getting kids to school and home, all in the same place. So I'm just encouraged for the very expected school year.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. DeBacco. Okay. Committee reports. Finance Committee, I'd like to ask for a motion to pay all bills if accurate and correct. Mr. Yaman, seconded by Mr. Stewart. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We already heard from Public Works tonight. The Arms Committee, Mr. Stewart, Arms, or Mr. Rivers?
Mr. Stewart will take care of that.
Yeah, right. Pass the buck.
The ARMS, the monthly report for August, the Rescue Medical Services responded to 277 calls. Briefly, with Griffin being the top receiving hospital at 155 calls and 21 going to Yale. Still a lot of diversions throughout the month, pretty much on a daily basis. And the total billing revenue for the month of August was $62,951.35. That's it.
Thank you. No, Mr. WPCA, Mr. King, would you like to report on WPCA tonight?
Not a significant report. The last meeting, business as usual. They are moving forward with the replacement of the 2 pumps. We had transferred the money for the bills and improvement funds to WPCA for that. But I guess they have already ordered them and they have the plans to install them, so that's moving along well. Other than that, it's...
Thank you. Thank you. Fire Commission, Mr. Stewart.
Hello again. For the month of August, the fire department responded to 47 calls. Quick highlights or lowlights: 8 motor vehicle assists, 5 CO investigations, 4 smoke odor investigations, and 4 electrical hazards, for a total of 47 calls in August. Additionally, the fire marshal conducted 12 annual inspections, 1 follow-up inspection, and 3 construction inspections. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Yaman, Ordinance Committee.
We had an ordinance meeting to discuss a possible recreation ordinance going forward with the change of the board. We got a lot of input from the current recreation members. Those discussions are ongoing. No action came out of the committee at this point in time. So that's pretty much the synopsis with that. The one thing we do need to do is we do need to schedule a public hearing for the ordinance that we passed last meeting, which is the parking on the Griffin Hospital on the west side. So I'd like to ask to, if I make a motion to schedule a public hearing on 10/8 at 6:45, which will be October 8th, 2019 at 6:45.
And that date is
That's before the next Board of Aldermen.
same night. Okay.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing on October 8th. Thank you. Mr. Cassetti, Housing Authority?
Yes, the Federal Housing Authority, City of Ansonia, report for a meeting on August 28th. An electrical common area has been upgraded at 11 May Street. The permits have been pulled for the replacement of the ducted range hoods at Monsignor Hayes Apartment 70 Woodlawn. The company for the replacement entry doors at the Monsignor Hayes Apartments 70 Woodlawn has been selected, and some quotes have come in for the replacement of the fire alarm panel system at Monsignor Hayes 70 Woodlawn. Upgrading the outdoor lighting at James J. O'Donnell Apartments 60 Woodlawn Avenue is taking place. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Cassetti. Any other committees tonight? Okay. Municipal reports, there was no boat meeting this past month, so we'll skip over items A and B under that, and I'll go to item C, land use report. I just want to point out that Blight took in for the month of July $32,770, and thus far, fiscal year, the amount is $119,175. Tax collector report and request for refund. Mr. Castellitis, please.
I make a motion to accept the tax collector's report and request for refunds in the amount of $3,686.12 if found to be correct.
Mr. Schuler, that's second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. There are no appointments tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. Accidents and claims. Motion to refer claim number 08-19-958 Howard Charles versus City of Ansonia to Corporation Council. Mr. Castellitis, seconded by Mr. Cassetti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Communication number one, I have a short letter from Paul Heon, Chairman of the Police Building Commission, regarding 65 Main Street, the new police department headquarters. Dear President Vaccaro, the new Police Building Committee is recommending that the Board of Aldermen authorize and approve the awarding of a low bid from Banton Construction Company of North Haven, Connecticut in the amount of $11,599,000 for the construction of a new police facility to be located at 65 Main Street, Ansonia, Connecticut. Thank you in advance for your time and consideration of this request. Mr. Heon, would you like to be heard tonight on this matter?
Sure. My name is Paul Dion, and I'm chairman of the building committee. We have worked with our committee formed a little over a year ago and put this project together, and we did get it out to bid, and the bids came back, and this is something that we put together that I think the city can be proud of. It's going to be, we did face some unique circumstances with the structure of the building and whatnot, but working with the architect, I think we came up with a good solid plan that will only benefit the residents of Ansonia. And I encourage the board to vote for the approval of the low bidder on this project.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Chief Metzler is here. Would you like to be heard, Mr. Metzler?
Good evening. Thank you for having us here. We've worked very hard to put this thing together, and I think the chief and the Ansonia Police Department was long overdue for a new facility. I think this facility will meet most of the needs of the town for several years to come, and I think that I would hope that you would endorse this and support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Gentlemen, your pleasure. Mr. Yaman?
I would make a motion to accept the low bid from the Banton Construction Company of North Haven, Connecticut, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract. Second.
Mr. Rivers seconded. Is there a discussion, gentlemen? Mr. Tripp?
Once again, I'm a little bit fuzzy as to how this is being funded. First, there was talk about a USDA loan. And then talking to your financial consultants, I'm just curious who they are. You decided to go with bonding. So, bonding is from the vote back in 2015, that
Correct.
authorization, correct?
Right, we're not 2015, 2017.
2017, okay. So the authorization, so we still have the bonding space available considering the other road projects, what have you, that have been done, we still have the bonding availability?
For the police station,
Right.
correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just want to add that I know the building department, the police building commission, they work very hard. And there's still a lot that's going to be going into this. There's a lot of value engineering that the contractor, that the GC is going to be working on, in addition to other cost-saving measures and to try to save the taxpayers as much as possible on this project. But I've sat in on all those meetings. I've worked with the chairman and the chief, as well as Chief Coda. I think this project is ready to go. I know they're ready to break ground, so I strongly encourage the board to go with this.
And I would add that I want to thank Chief Coda as well. I would add that the contractor is ready to go immediately, so with your approval, they could be out there this month.
To say that it's long overdue and well-deserved is an understatement.
Yes.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, under new business, we have City Building Inspector Nick Bahoon, salary adjustment, discussion and possible action. Just give some background on this. Mr. Bahoon has been doing the plumbing inspector's job for almost a year, quite a few months. I'm not exactly sure how much, but I'd like to ask for a motion to retroactively reimburse the building inspector, Nick Bahoon, an amount not to exceed $9,263 from the plumbing inspection performed by Mr. Bahoon. Mr. Rivers, Mr. Yaman, second. Is there discussion, gentlemen, or any questions? Mr. Schuler.
I'm just curious, how do you arrive at that number?
It's the amount that the plumbing inspector in the past who left the position that's his
It's
salary.
a vacant position.
Yes.
That's the salary for it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion, gentlemen? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Any old business?
There is
Mr.
the issue
Yaman.
with the federal tax incentive. I did have an opportunity to review the minutes. It appears that it's a 10-year, as Corporation Counsel indicated. I understood that they were asking for 5 and not 7.
So it was actually, I believe, 10 years, no more than 10 years of a tax incentive, which was actually specifically a $24,000 reduction in the taxes for no more than 10 years, with the stipulation that the actual development had to occur within a certain amount of time. And the board agreed on 3. The initial proposal was 5, and Mr. Cinto is requesting the 5. To put it into context, obviously you do these things to...
No, he's requesting 7.
Oh, you're requesting 7 now?
No, you're requesting 5 to construct because you believe they can construct within 3. Right? Correct?
No, he said 7.
He said 7, but you can bridge the gap.
You're absolutely right. My marching orders were to get 7 years. That's what they were going for. Nothing's approved yet, but it gets approved a lot easier at 7 years for the jury, for the federal owner, right? They came back to us and said that. So that's kind of why I'm here tonight. If not, I don't know whether or not they would purchase the property or not.
7 years to construct or 7 years of an incentive?
7 years of incentive.
With how many years? Which is actually, so the resolution that was approved was actually no more than 10. So it was actually a little higher than that. The problem is that your stipulation was the amount of time to...
Bingo, the uncertainty of the 3 years, and that might, I'm here to make whatever kind of deal I can, or try to, for the city, for us, and for Farrell. So if you wanted to look at it that way, I'd be willing to look at it, I'd be willing to present it that way to them, where you shave off 3 years, and they don't have to start construction for 7 years. And the reality is, they're probably going to start construction before that 7 years. But I could go back with that trade-off.
You did say 7 years, but we could bridge the gap.
Well,
That was pretty
I have
much a
some
quote.
creative ways of thinking of bridging the gap as well, yes. See, our thing is, we have another transaction on the table that's not as favorable as Farrell would be for everybody involved, right? So I would rather try to make this deal if we could make this deal. And in an effort to do that, we would be willing to contribute the difference in the 2 transactions towards this transaction, if that kind of makes sense.
So you're willing to shave off 3 years of the incentive to put the 3 years on to a 7-year before you build, or?
Yes, I'm willing to present that, right? I mean, I'm willing to present that. I'm not gonna make the decision
Right.
here or not. If not, I'll sell it to someone else that's not gonna be as great to the city as Farrell would possibly be to the city. Potentially too, I mean, there's nothing set in stone at all. I'm just weighing out, telling you, I'm putting everything on the table.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let me just thank this board because you guys debated about this. You wanted to know what the benefit was to the taxpayers and so forth, and you came up with a number that was 3. I don't want to confuse things, but in speaking with Paul Zepp, he said, I need a commitment, I need 5 years, because when I go to my parent company, I need 5 years to say that I will not be able to build, I can't build any sooner than 5 years. So I guess what Rob is saying, what we're all saying is, when we first spoke about it, I said 5 years, because that's what Farrell had represented to me, and that's what we discussed. We somehow came out with 3, and I think that's because 3 was what you had in your packet. Should have been 5. 5 is what the company was asking
And
for.
Mr. Cinto, is it your understanding that that's the 5 years to build would be adequate?
No, my understanding now, and I think things have changed in between now and then, but it's 7 years. They're looking for the incentive package for 7 years to build before at 7 years.
Yeah, we're talking about building. We wanted to do 5.
So the way that we understood it was originally they were seeking an agreement that would last for actually 10 years, up to 10 years, the tax incentive, as long as some construction occurred by the 5-year mark. And the alderman kind of scaled the to begin.
And then that's in 3. Yeah, fine, I understand.
Would that same incentive, if it was a 10-year incentive, as long as something was built by 5 years, is your understanding that that would work for them?
No, my understanding, and I'm sorry to...
7 is the number to build.
Yes, that was my marching order when I came here tonight. They won't see it. Yeah. Can I ask a
So they want 7 years incentive and 7 years to start building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's the difference, right? The 3 years of incentive giving to, so if you did that math, I don't know what the difference would be, but take that 3 years.
Take it at 3 years.
And put it to 7 and you're at 4, so it's really asking for 1 more year if you wanted to look at it like that. And I'm here today to say that I would contribute something towards that, maybe that year, maybe you guys are, I'm just here to see if we can get something done,
Mr. King.
My concern is just having an undeveloped piece of property that currently is available for development by somebody else, and then we're going to enter into an agreement to leave it vacant for a number of years and extend that. And then what if something doesn't happen? What's our guarantee?
I guess
The parent company pulls out and decides
right, that's a good
not to
point.
build.
But I guess the guarantee is you already have a company right on that parcel. So chances are they're not going anywhere. In fact, they're looking to expand where their current footprint is. So I guess that's that's
Right,
a
they
little
own
bit
it.
more of a short thing than.
You're going to get your tax dollars no matter what, they own it. Potentially, they own it, and they're going to pay tax out at the end of 7 years. If they start construction earlier or if not, but no matter what, you know you're going to have somebody that is going to own it for as long. I mean, they're there, they own it.
In the meantime, though, what if they decide to sublease it, sell it to another developer, let somebody else come on site,
That's
and
not the
then we don't
agreement.
have that control anymore?
That wouldn't be the agreement.
Well,
The
they would forfeit the agreement, but then they would sell the property. That could happen.
The goal, of course, is to get a development, and the reason is, as
I'd
soon
like
as
to
the
see it
development is
develop
done,
sooner rather than later.
as soon as the development is done, remember, the assessed value goes up and we generate more in taxes. It's often understood that sometimes stepping back a little bit from the current taxes collected, if it incentivizes that development to happen, is worth it. So the way this works is that $24,000 reduction is off of about $50,000 in total that's being paid in taxes right now.
Yeah.
So essentially, the way you look at it, every year under this agreement, you're losing $25,000 in the hopes of course, incentivizing the construction. So for Mr. Cinto's proposed extra 4 years, it's essentially an extra $100,000. So obviously, I can only ask this for the board. Would there be an inclination to essentially, for that loss of an extra $100,000, compensate the city to pay all of or a portion of that lost value?
I don't want to negotiate against myself, obviously.
You can.
We're very courteous. We usually let the developers go first. That's why.
Yeah, I see that.
Then to add to that, then why don't we do the incentive?
So, but maybe if there is an inclination, to, rather than negotiate on the spot, we could certainly go in that direction.
Right, just so to get everyone on the same page here, yes, there is an inclination. We have, the other seller that we have possibly wouldn't develop the site at all. And possibly they'd just be using it for the materials of the site and then walk away. I'm not sure, but that's a possibility. So there's a math equation for us where it no longer makes sense for us to, you know what I'm trying to say? Right, so like there's a break-even number, which I'm willing to go to, but I'm not willing to lose money. And I want to do what's best for everybody here.
So, to return the courtesy, obviously, if the lost value of those additional years is $100,000, if that's an offer, then you can consider.
No, yeah, no, but that wouldn't work. That would be too, no. I'd be willing to, there's room in the transaction to split that with you guys, potentially. And that kind of gets everyone almost, if it was $15,000 you're gonna lose annually, and you were at 3, right? And we're gonna potentially here, considering contributing 50, that would be 3 years. So you'd be at 6 years. So you guys would just be picking up 1 year, basically, even less than 1 year. Does that math work for everybody?
I see what you're saying. I want to, if you don't mind, I want to suggest tabling this. We can always take it up at a special meeting or at the next meeting, but I don't want to have the back and forth until we sit with Farrell, you, and then come back to the board and let them deliberate, think about it, and deliberate and vote on it.
No, just timing is also an issue here too.
Understood. And there's always an ability to call a special meeting if need be. I don't think, in all fairness, we all have different ideas about what we thought they might need.
Oh, no, yeah, well, regardless.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
No, go ahead, Rob. I want to give you an opportunity to speak, but at the same time, to be fair and to let, maybe not have a public negotiation about
No problem.
what Farrell wants or doesn't want and what the residents deserve and so forth.
No problem. Understood.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I thank you guys.
You're welcome. Thank you. Motion to table on the floor, gentlemen. Mr. Rivers? Is there a second time table? Mr. Yaman? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One opposition, okay. Motion carried. Any other old business tonight, gentlemen? No ordinances, no resolutions, no resignations. Executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Castellitis, seconded by Mr. Yaman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, executive session. Mr. Green, who would you like in executive session?
Mayor staff. Mayor, the staff.
Yeah, no.